Seester.
Hi, Seesters.
Hello and welcome to Realm Talk. I'm Aaliyah.
I'm Geneva, and welcome to your weekly ride to the fantasy realms of entertainment.
Woo! We are back this week and we are excited to dive deeper into Fourth Wing. We're going to be discussing chapters 16 through 20. But first, let's do our intro. So, what are you reading, Seester?
I'm reading textbooks right now, so
Oh.
I try to read a little bit at night, but it's mostly just been smut because it's mindless, and I don't have to follow I don't have to keep up with characters too much. I am reading what was that book? It left my head, but the one I showed last week, the Femdong one. I have been reading that one. I'm enjoying it a lot, but I just don't have time to like start a whole series or start a full novel right now because school is kicking my ass. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I understand that. I started reading The Serpent and the Wings of the Night by Carissa Broadbent. It's highly recommended a lot of places, like if you liked Fourth Wing, if you liked ACOTAR. It definitely reminds me more of like Fourth Wing with Hunger Games because it's like a trial. It is vampires and a human alliance and like a Hunger Game kind of trial situation going on. And watching them defeat the enemies and be the last two standing, but there can only be one winner. So I'm
Like
like,
Highlander.
yeah. So I'm like 80% of the book. I'll probably finish it maybe today or tomorrow. And then I'll start the second book, I think. So far, I do like it. It is another extremely slow burn romance. But it's good. I also started by my sister's recommendation, The Perfect Fit by Sadie Kincaid. I started that last night. I'm about 130 pages in. I recognize that I am not a slut for smut as I originally thought that I was. There's definitely different levels
Mm-hmm.
to smut that might just be a little bit out of my realm. Um, I think mostly though, and I was thinking about this before I got on here, like what don't I specifically like about the book? It's not that I like dislike anything. It's not a bad book and she's a great writer. But I need romance. And there's no
Oh,
romance
they're
in
just
this book.
fucking.
Yeah, they're just fucking. And you know, I need something to cling on to. Like I'm a romance person at heart. So like it's like I'm reading fan fiction, but even with fan fiction, I'm attached to the characters. Like I can read a smut fan fiction easily, but this is a little bit harder. So I think overall, like even outside of like my my freakiness mind, um, I think I just need romance overall
Mm-hmm.
for me to be
That's
interested in a
fair.
story.
That's fair.
Um, so yeah, it's like I'm like detached from the characters. Like I don't care about anyone, and I'm just
Yeah.
reading like sex, and so we're fucking really. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna give it to about 50% of the book and see if I can get through it. Maybe the story will come into play. Has not been any story, just fucking. So I'm like, is there a point to this at some point? But I'm sure it will come. Maybe halfway through we'll get a plot. You said there was a plot, so I am patiently waiting.
So I will say that Mercy. I remember the title of the book now. So I will
Mm,
say that I have noticed with Mercy that there is more character building
mm.
in Mercy, and I've only gotten to one sex scene, and it was very brief, and I'm already almost to the middle of the book.
Okay.
So there's a lot of character building. You're following the character, the FMC, along on her journey to becoming a dominatrix, basically, or a femdom. And you're
Mm,
going through all the emotions with her and how she feels about it, and her denying it, her believing she's just vanilla, and all these things, and her being
yeah.
willing to like step outside her box and try this new thing. And
Yeah.
so, like, I'm enjoying that because I
Hmm.
feel like I can relate to it as well in a way.
Yeah.
And like just stepping out of my own comfort zone to try something new and to
Yeah.
try something new with someone else who's also new to the BDSM scene as well. And you're just figuring it out together. You're doing research together. It's kind of, and I like that about the book because it's very realistic.
Yeah.
So maybe you should check that one out.
I'm gonna pause on your recommendations for smut books. I think I'll take a little break.
Take a break.
And go back to my romance
Breathe.
novels. Yes, to take a breather because that was a lot.
It was a
But
lot.
it was a lot. You
I'm
started me
sorry.
off. You threw me into the deep end there. I thought I was ready because
I
I've
threw
read
you in 10 feet. Like, here
you
you
did.
go. Swim.
Just threw me in. I didn't get any ramp up period. um,
Queen of smut. What can you say?
she is. She definitely is. So moving on to our next topic. What are you watching? Are you watching anything or about the same?
It's about the same. I think I recently watched a documentary, but I can't remember what it was. I think I had it on while I was working, like for background noise, more so. Oh no, it was on HBO or Max. What the fuck I'm calling it now? It was the Army Hammer documentary.
Oh, the House of Hammer.
House of Hammer. Yeah, I watched that, and I was just like, "That's what happened to him. That's why we don't see him anymore."
Yeah,
like
crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
I think our little brother watched that, or he told me about it, but I watched the trailer and I was like, I don't think I'm ready to watch this. And so it's been on my watch list, but very low on the levels of watch list. Speaking of HBO, I was watching Tokyo Vice season 2, which is actually really good this season. I liked season 1. It's not a fantasy, but it's set in Tokyo, and they've got this white guy. He moves there and he decides to work for their big newspaper to uncover the Yakuza. So it's like based on a true story. It's very interesting, and I love the fact that they really focus on like the Japanese being able to speak Japanese and like have their own conversations. Like it's centered around like a white person, but like the Japanese people have their own storylines and their own, like they speak in Japanese, and I like that. I just I like it to be authentic.
I like when they do stuff like that. They don't force them to assimilate, so to speak. And sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
Oh no, and to the opposite of that, I really enjoyed Chernobyl for a similar reason, because they didn't force everybody to have this lackluster Russian accent.
Yeah.
During the show, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I also enjoy that they didn't try to force people to have Russian accents. They just let people talk how they talk and let the story tell itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, do you remember the K drama we watched? And it was to all the boys that ever loved but her sister, and she went to Korea and she was like in school there, and it's like, I can't remember the name of the show, but anyway, she's based in Korea and like no one speaks Korean. Like the show is just like she moved to this Korean school, but like no one speaks Korean, and it's like barely talked about, and it's like she doesn't even try. Like she doesn't even need to know. Like Kitty, I think Kitty XO, yeah, it's called Kitty.
Yeah, Kitty XO, yeah.
Yeah, and so that stuff is just like, oh come on, like just everybody's just going to conform. If anyone's been to any other country, it's not like that. They definitely expect you to try to speak their language.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of K-dramas, I actually am watching one with my daughter. We're watching Revenge of Others. It's on Hulu. It's really good. It's really good. It's about this guy. He gets a terminal illness, and he basically gets hired to take revenge on bullies for other people at his school.
Well, that's cool.
And it's really cool.
What's with the Koreans and the bullying?
It's really bad.
Like, what is going on over there?
It's really bad. Like the bullying is horrible over there. Like that, and what was the other one that I watched with her?
Glory.
It was the Glory. Yeah, that one was good too.
Yeah, Glory I heard was good. So, I guess I'll just start. Okay. We got some exciting news last week. Rebecca Yarros went on Good Morning America and announced that the next book in the Empyrean series, Onyx Storm, will be coming out January 21st, 2025. And it's just the best news. We're so excited.
I'm so excited. And I'm so happy. I can't remember his name, but I remember seeing his TikTok and I sent it to you.
Yes.
Of him covering Taryn's voices and using lines from the book as he did voiceover for it. And I heard his voice on the blurb, and I was just like, oh my god, I hope he got paid for that.
I know. It was so cool. They did the trailer, and I wrote down those little notes where like it's supposed to be like a quote from the book, what the guy from TikTok was saying. And he said, this mission may kill us, and we have to tell her. Like, what do you think? What do you think they're about to do? What has Taryn? He has to be talking to Xaden, which makes me think that this is a Xaden POV book, or maybe a couple more chapters.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it could be like a Xaden POV thing, like moment, like she did in Iron Flame, where the last chapter was Xaden's POV. I don't know.
His name is Michael
Taryn. Sorry.
No, I was saying his name is Michael Liot.
Oh,
so
okay, good.
I found it. I just went and looked really quick. So
thank you, because I was gonna feel so bad. It's like I don't remember his name. I forgot to look it up.
I know. No, I had to look it up too. I got to support our Black men. But yeah, I don't know. My thought is that I'm hoping that we'll get more Xaden POV chapters, or like you said, like Taryn is just in this moment talking to Xaden, but I don't know. I feel like if he's talking to Xaden, she'll be able to hear it. So if he's able to block her out and say that to Xaden, that's also
which
really
I'm pretty sure he would be able to do. He's been a dragon for a while, so
yeah. Yeah. So Onyx Storm, my last question for you is, what do you think the title means, Onyx Storm?
Well, Onyx, obviously it's a color. It's black.
It's his eye color.
Yes.
His onyx eyes.
It's onyx eyes. And I think that like it's gonna have to do with the turmoil that Xaden has found himself into. Or found himself in. Okay. And I think that it may center, maybe we will get a more Xaden POV centered book, which would be awesome. I would just be so excited for that, because the few Xaden POV chapters we did get, I was just like, whew.
Devoured. They were so good. So good. Yeah, I think on your point, Onyx Storm, I think immediately Onyx, I know that's the color of his eyes and they have gold flecks in them. And then Storm, at first I thought like lightning and her mother, and what she's able to do. So is it like, I hope it's not another book about him and her fighting, like Onyx Storm, like, but
I can't
but
do
also
that again.
I know I can't do it again either. But also like they're both two sides of darkness and light. You know, she wields lightning and he wields shadows.
Yeah.
Onyx Storm, I think this book is about them. But if you think about Fourth Wing, the title of Fourth Wing was just the wing that they were in, or like the part of the section of the college. And then the second book, Iron Flame, was about the passage of the journals that said that they couldn't translate. They originally thought it was like Dragon Flame or Dragon Fire or something like that. But yeah, so I'm excited. Any end game theories that you have that you think?
All I know is that Violet and Xaden better be in game or I'm writing. So
yeah,
that's the only end game thing I care about. I don't care about anything else that happens as long as they stay together forever.
Yeah, I have to agree. The only end game thing that I need is for Xaden and Violet to stay together. I really don't want anybody else to die. Like, I'm really nervous because we've just lost so many people already. And I've got like Riddick and Sawyer and Imogen and Garrick and Bodhi. And I just feel like we're just losing so many people that if we have 3 or 4 more books, something is going to happen.
People are going to die.
So I hope not, but you know, expect the unexpected. Shall we move on to our chapter by chapter discussion?
Sure. Let me get my book ready.
Your book ready? All right.
Yes.
Quiet across the realm. We now begin our chapter by chapter discussion of chapter 16 through 20 of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This discussion will contain spoilers for Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. You have been warned. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Blurb, please.
Okay, so the blurb for chapter 16 reads as follows. Though this officer considers himself to be an expert on all matters dragonkind, there is a great deal we don't know about the way dragons govern themselves. There is a clear hierarchy among the most powerful, and deference is paid to elders. But I have not been able to discern how it is they make laws for themselves, or at what point a dragon decided to bond only one rider rather than go for better odds with two. Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind.
This is such an interesting blurb.
It is an interesting blurb. Like, I
There's
saw my
a
face
lot.
change when I read that last part.
Yeah. There is a lot of information here about dragons, and I think we could spend like 10 minutes just discussing what Professor Kaori is saying, who we are going to see in this chapter. But essentially, we don't know shit about dragons. We don't know nothing about nothing. They don't
We
give
know
us
what they
nothing.
allow us to know.
Yes. And I don't think the author puts these little informations in for no reason. I think that they will all come to play, like that last bit about why don't they bond two writers? What's the reasoning beyond that? Like, there's so much that I hope that we get to learn. Like, she wouldn't put that in there without a reason. So let's hope over the next couple books we learn more. All right. So chapter 16 starts off with Violet is in the medical station getting looked at for injuries after telling everyone that she has two dragons. And the generals are hanging out, arguing about it because this has never happened before. Unfortunately, Jack fucking Barlow is also in the tent with her, and he has not stopped staring at Taryn the moment he saw it. Professor Kaori is actually looking over Violet and tending to her ankle. And while she's sitting there, she hears that JFB is going to need surgery. And in this moment, I know, right? And in this moment, I was really proud of Violet because she just snaps and she's just like, I'm not afraid of this guy anymore. He fucking ran from me when it was 3-on-1. And she looks him dead in his eyes. What do you think about the shift with Violet in that moment?
I feel like it's how it is when you finally confront your bully and they cower and you feel like, what was I afraid of all that time? Like, what was I afraid of? I could have done this a long time ago. Because a lot of times bullies put on a good front, but in reality, they're cowards.
Yep.
When presented with an opportunity to actually live up to their name of being a bully, when someone confronts them, especially physically or even intellectually, they cave.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's that moment too. I think that she realizes that what the fuck was I afraid of this guy for? He's a little bitch and he fucking ran from me. I have the power. Like, I am strong, and I love this shift for Violet here. I really, really love this shift. So Professor Kaori tells JFB that he needs to leave Violet alone because she just bonded the most powerful dragon, and JFB's dragon, which is called Bade, we learn he bonds with an orange dagger tail, is no match for Taryn. And Jack is shook that Taryn is Violet. Like, he looks at her and he's like, you, and she sees the emotions go across his face, the anger, the envy, the jealousy, all of it. He's just going through it in this moment. And I want to point this out because this is the turning point for JFB when he cannot take this. We're going to go into more JFB stuff later, but I just wanted to see if you had any notes on this moment for him.
No, not really. I mean, he's an asshole, but besides that, his obsession with power and him feeling like he needs to have power to be strong and to be a leader and all these other things is going to be his downfall, I feel. And it is in some ways. But I do feel like you said, this was like the tipping point for him.
Yeah. So he's completely shook. They head out of the tent, and Violet asks Professor K, which is I'm going to call him from now on, if anyone has ever bonded two dragons, and he says that she'll be the first, but there's no point in leadership arguing about it because the decision isn't up to them. It's up to the dragons. And he says is really important note, like we like to think that we have control, but we don't. It's an illusion. And and Taryn confirms this. He says it'll be up to the Empyrean to decide. Like humans do not have say so over what dragons decide.
Yeah.
Love that.
And that's typical human nature. Humans like to act like we're in control of everything all the time. And especially things we feel that we have dominion over. When in reality they control us like cats.
Exactly. So Coda comes into play. He's the only other black dragon out right now. He's General Melgan's dragon, and Taryn and Coda are sizing each other up a little bit. They're looking at each other, they're growling at each other, and they have to go off to have their little leadership meeting about the bonding of two dragons. And Taryn tells Violet to stay with the ringleader. She's like, absolutely not. So she goes off and finds Rhee and Riddick, and she finds out that everyone bonded. Rhee got a green dagger tail. Yay! And Riddick got a brown sword tail. And Sawyer, who this is his second year, bonded with a red sword tail as well. And I'm so happy for my friends.
Proud of my babies.
They did so well.
They did so well. I'm so proud of them.
Unfortunately, one of their other squad mates, Trina, did bond with the dragon, but she lost her seat and she fell off and died. And then Tynan was killed by Taryn. So there are only 4 remaining from her squad out of 9 people that started. So I just wanted to rip to the 5 that are no longer here. We 4 made it to threshing, which is
commend your souls to Malik.
We commend your souls to Malik. These are terrifying odds. 4 out of 9. Wouldn't want to go to that school.
No.
4 out of 9 make it to October 1st. No thanks.
I'm good.
Hard pass. So anyways, next big part is Dane approaches and he immediately is checking Violet out. Is she hurt? She pulls away and she's like, I'm fine. She does notice that Xaden is watching them from the shadows through the corner because she's like always looking for him. And Dane starts to ask her about bonding the two dragons, and he's like, they're going to make you choose. You know, they're off in a meeting. They're going to make you choose. And Violet's like, no, I'm not choosing. And he's like, well, the safest choice is Andarna. And Violet's like, I don't know what you're saying. And he's just like, well, you know, we understand that like Andarna can't bear a rider, but maybe at some point she will. But Taryn's the strongest dragon, and you can't bond the strongest dragon. They'll just put a target on your back. And then he notes that Xaden's going to get her killed. And Violet's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, Taryn and Xaden's dragon scale are mated, and they are the strongest bonded pair in a century. So Violet is shook to learn that information, that Taryn and Scale are together, married, dragon lovers, whatever you want to call it. And he's like, wait, tell me like what happened? Like what happened during Thresh? And she tells him everything. And the moment she gets to saying that Xaden arrived, he's like, what are you talking about? He immediately accuses Xaden of manipulating threshing, and Xaden also happens to come out of the shadows in this moment when his name is called, which I think
makes
is
an appearance.
Yeah, he's like, I heard bitches was saying something about me. Let me come to the front. And so they start going back and forth. Dane is accusing Xaden of manipulating threshing, and Xaden's like, oh, tell me more about what happened and what I did. And he gets to the point where he's just saying, it wasn't me, it was Scale. You shouldn't be bearing these questions at me. You should be bearing them at the dragon. And saying,
knowing damn well Dane's not gonna go question the dragon.
Exactly. He points out that like Violet was trying to save the gold dragon, and Scale is fond of her, and she doesn't like bullies. And so Dane's like, oh, oops. But Xaden's not done. Xaden's like, oh, you think you think that you could come here and accuse me of something? Let's have a real conversation,
That's
Dane.
something for that ass.
Yeah, he's just like, we not finished. No. So he asked him, he says, like, but given all of that information and you see Violet 3-on-1 and losing, what would you do, Dane? And Dane just, starts stammering. He's like, there are rules and this, that, and the other. And Violet is looking at Dane like she's never seen him before, as she's slowly realizing that he would not step to kill her and step to help her from getting killed. And Dane, before he can even say it, Violet's just like, leave him alone. Like, it doesn't matter. It's fine.
She doesn't want to hear it out of his mouth.
Yeah. I felt really bad for her in this moment because she remembers and realizes that Xaden, who doesn't like her, was about to took a step to help her. And the person she's known since she was 5 is telling her there are rules and I can't. I'm sorry. So after Xaden pretty much humiliates him, he tells him, get back in line, squad leader, because he's his wing leader. And Violet immediately starts getting annoyed at Xaden, and they have an argument on their way back to their dragons, going back and forth. And she's just like, "Why do you care? Like, what? Like, we're bonded. Like, whatever. That doesn't mean anything." And he's just like, "No. You don't get it. Our dragons are mated, which means if you die, Terran dies, because he is a strong dragon and one of the strongest dragons.
Strong.
His bonds are strong. So he's like, if you die, then Terran dies. And because Terran and Scale are mated and they're the strongest bonded mating pair in centuries, Scale dies. And a rider cannot live without their dragon. So I die." So Xaden's just like, I'm not trying to die. Yeah, he's just like, let me break it down for you. Like, you don't think this is serious here? He's just like playing out the plan, the turn of events here. And she's actually shocked. And then she realizes that's why Terran told her to stay with the wing leader. And he points out, you are target number 1 now that you have bonded the strongest dragon. And he points that there are 41 unbonded people staring at you right now, knowing like what you are and what you look like, and you're enemy number 1 for them, because if they can kill you now, they still might be able to bond Terran while the bond is weak in day 1.
But I the first time I read that, I was just like, doesn't Terran choose his rider? Like, y'all not just gonna kill Violet and just jump on Terran? Like, I got him. Like, he's a fucking
he's
Bronco or something.
He's not a horse.
Like, you can tame him.
Yeah.
Like, what did he do? I had a visual of that in my head, by the way, but like, that's not how it works. He makes the choice. It's his decision.
And I think you're 100% right, because it goes into what we were talking about last week and even this week. These kids and people know nothing about dragons, and they're not knowledgeable enough about them at all. They're not taught anything. Like, what the hell would make you think if you kill a dragon's rider that they're going to be like, you're really strong? Actually, never mind. I saw you and felt you out there earlier, but you're who I really want. No, they're not going to do that.
I mean, there may be some dragons like that, because I imagine they all have different personalities and temperaments and wants and desires and all these other things. Sure. But I don't see Terran as that dragon.
No, he's too cunning.
He's way too cunning, and he cares about who he bonds with, and he chooses discerningly. So, you know what I mean? He's not just going to choose the next motherfucker in line.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, Xaden says that he values his life, and keeping her alive is now his priority number 1, because that keeps him alive and he values his life. The dragon returns, and obviously the decision is that the dragons say that they can bond, and humans have no say-so in the law of dragons. Her mom still refuses to look at her. And then she gets her first, they mark you with a relic after you bond with the dragons. She gets a really cool dragon tattoo on her back. Dane, once again, comes back over to Violet after she gets her tattoos and is welcomed into becoming a rider officially, graduation day. and he helps her look at her new tattoo, and he pulls her into an embrace, and he's just like, I would have done anything to save you. You must know that, like, despite what Riorson said, like, I care about you. All I've been doing is like to keep you safe. That's all I've been doing all this time. And she says to him, I know, but in reality she's realizing like who he is.
Her affections for him are dwindling.
Yeah. And then Dane kisses her, and she's starts off being excited, and she's like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this. Dane's lips are finally on mine, and I feel nothing. End of chapter. Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah.
So
nothing like a disappointed kiss to kill the mood.
I know, to end the chapter with the lackluster kiss. This was a super, super, super loaded chapter. We could probably spend the whole episode talking about this lone chapter, but we're not. I have a couple things that I want to talk to you about. The mating bonds. Why do you think these are so strong that the dragons have like almost decided that if you mate with someone, I will not live without you? That is a very strong decision and bond to make.
Well, if you think about animals, there are certain animals that mate for life. And I feel like with dragons, because they have such longevity and, you know, there's so much mystery around them, I'm just guessing, but
yeah,
because they have so much longevity, and in order to not only protect themselves and each other, they bond for life, so to speak. And if one dies, the other leaves too, because what's the point?
It's like dying of a broken heart.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad.
I know.
My dragons. Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I think like when I think about why the author would choose to put in such a strong mating bond, like it's already hard enough being a writer. Like once your dragon dies, you die. There's no life, but they can live without you. So that already tells me that they're more superior, but they can't live without each other. And I do love that. I do think it's sweet, but also just like, so like, there ain't gonna be a lot of y'all left.
I know.
This is like, you know, like we taking them two at a time.
They live for hundreds of years, though.
True.
So
maybe they don't bond until they're like 100 years old or something. Because I know Taryn's like 150, and I think Scales maybe like 100 or something like that. So you know, maybe. The next point I wanted to get into was this chapter was a Xaden POV chapter. Yes, and I loved seeing this chapter from his perspective, specifically the ending when he gets jealous about Dane kissing Violet.
And the relief when he realized that Violet was just like, I'm not feeling this kiss.
Yes. And then my boy Garrick is just like, are you jealous?
Are you jealous? I've never seen Xaden Christopher Ryerson get jealous before. I just gave him a middle name.
No, but seriously, I think the shadows like explode around him because he can't control his emotions in that moment. And Garrick's like, bro, you are jealous. Like,
you got it bad.
Exactly. So if you haven't read the Xaden POV chapter, go read it. It's lovely, and it gives all the feels after you've read the book. Last thing I wanted to touch on was, we're going to be talking about Dane a lot, but in this moment, do you really believe that he wouldn't save her?
Yes.
Yeah. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to chapter 17. No further questions. All right, so chapter 17, blurb, please.
Here we go. Okay, I have it ready. It is therefore only natural that the more powerful the dragon, the more powerful the signet its rider manifests. One should beware of a strong rider who bonds a smaller dragon, but even warier of the unbonded cadet who will stop at nothing to seize a chance to bond. Major Offender's Guide to the Writer's Quadrant, Unauthorized Edition.
Oh boy. This chapter is really setting us up to like know what the unbonded writers are about to be like. Like you thought it was battle royale out and threshing. Now you've got what, I don't know how many people that bond dragons. I don't think I wrote it down, but let's just
The
say out of
unbonded?
100. Yeah, there's 41 unbonded, but I don't remember how many people bonded with dragons. But
Oh,
essentially all of
yeah.
y'all are like, I'm trying to see if the ratio, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
But y'all are all target number 1 now because they're jealous. They're gonna have to redo the year over again. Like this is the reason why they came here. 41 is a lot. Like I
That's
don't
a
want
lot
a
of
target on my
people.
back for
And
41
Violet
people.
definitely has a target because people see her as weak and easy pickings.
And easy
So,
pickings, like this one person we're gonna go after.
Yeah.
Chapter 17 opens up with the bonded writers are celebrating. Again, it's kind of like graduation, and everybody's going to have a party and enjoy each other and be happy. And they get into their new rooms.
Enjoy each other.
Enjoy each other. They finally have rooms. They moved out of like the bunk bed barracks. I kind of pictured like jail cell, like bunk beds that they had in there, or like cots or something, you know, when you went to like summer camp and they had those little like rope cots. Like that's what I pictured, just the worst living situations. But they finally have rooms and she comes out and guess who she sees? Sawyer is coming out of Reed's room. Yes, queen, or bye, queen. she takes it whatever she can get, y'all.
She take where she could get it for sure.
I know that's right. So Ree is like, you know, she's just like, yeah, I wanted to have some fun last night, you know, and she's just like, well, like I'm happy for you celebrating or whatever Ree and Sawyer have going on. And so they just kind of catch up, and Ree's just like, well, you know, you're talking about me and Sawyer, but like, what about you and Dane? Did y'all do anything last night? And Violet's like, no.
And will not be.
Yeah. And she tells her that, like, yeah, it was great that he kissed me, but I felt nothing. So Ree's just like, damn, girl, I'm sorry. They head to breakfast with Sawyer and Riddick, who Riddick also had some fun last night. So Violet's just like, damn, everybody is celebrating. Everybody's getting laid but me. I'm the only one that is not getting laid. So as soon as they sit down for breakfast, a couple of folks from Third Wing just immediately jump up and bolt off. And they say, like, sorry, Sorengale. And she's just like, what? That was weird. And then she notes that JFB is being forced out of the table that he normally sits in. So he has to stand. And then, even weirder, because I'm imagining this is all happening like boom, boom, boom.
Like in a mess hall.
Yeah, in a mess hall. She's sitting down, they're like running away. JFB's over here getting like kicked out of his group. And then Imogen and Quinn sit down with him at the table to eat breakfast. And then 2 more people from the third year join them, Heaton and Emery. And Violet's like, all right, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is getting real weird.
Everybody getting brand new now that I got a fucking dragon.
Yeah, she's just like, what's going on? And Quinn just says, like, well, after threshing is always weird, like, because people are either gonna suck up to you, or people realize you don't have power, or you do have power. And Violet's just and Violet's just like, well, okay, like this feels like weird and uncomfortable. And then next to that, Imogen tells Violet, like, after class today, you and I are going into the weight room. And she's like, girl, what the fuck? Like, I don't fuck with you. You don't fuck with me. Like, why would I go anywhere with you?
And it's so weird because it's literally like a week ago she was hating her.
She was like pulling her arm out of her socket.
Exactly. And then now with no warning, no explanation, girl, we gonna go work out together. Bitch, what?
What? Work out? You trying to kill me? Like, what? No. And then it clicks. And she notes Zayden is there, and she realizes all of the people sitting with her, Imogen, Quinn, Heaton, Emery, are all marked ones. And Imogen wants to work out with her. She's a marked one. And she realizes that it's his fault. So she looks at him, and then he, of course, confirms that by like looking at her and then pointedly looking at Imogen like, um, get to work. So then they head out to the flight field. They got their new flying clothes. So they had like their like regular clothes, and now they have like flying leather. So they are super official, which I am happy for them. And as she gets ready to start her flying lessons, Taryn is waiting for her, but she's embarrassed because she can't climb up him like everyone else with the mounting. You know, that she couldn't do the gauntlet, and the gauntlet is supposed to be that little running bowl dip that she was doing with the dagger. That's essentially supposed to be what it feels like to run up the
She's not
foreleg of a
about to
dragon.
stab. She's not about to stab Taryn.
Child, Taryn said, she was like, he rolled his shoulder down, and she's just like, oh, like, let me like try. And he's just like, no, senior memories, don't want you stabbing yourself up my leg to get up here. So just climb up. And she's super embarrassed, and he's just like, don't worry about it, just get on and hold your seat. But then she can't, and he's just like gonna magic her in essentially and hold her in, and she's just like, no, like, you can't do that, you're using your power to keep me seated. And he's just like, it's only a little bit of my power, like, please, like, I can
I
hold you like without even thinking.
I feel like she was acting like he was just using such tremendous energy to hold him, to hold her to hold her in the seat, and he's just like, I'm literally not even thinking about it.
No, yeah, exactly. He's just like, it's nothing, like, relax. And unfortunately he does, and she falls constantly over and over and over again. She cannot keep her seat. Her legs just are not able to hold on. She can't grip. Like, it's just one small movement and she's completely falling off. It's like her joints are just not able to lock in, which if you look at Game of Thrones and how they ride dragons, like, yeah, I don't think I would be able to keep my seat either.
And Danny was doing it bareback, so
She ain't had nothing.
she had no
okay,
saddle.
she's just holding on to the reins
Thoughts and
up there.
prayers. Like,
Yeah, thoughts and prayers. So, um, she goes to dinner, and that's like, it's the end of the day. She's supposed to be heading to the gym with Imogen, even though she doesn't want to. She's going to go. And Taryn tells her to trust Imogen because she's thinking like, I really don't want to go in here with her. Like, this girl literally tried to kill me yesterday. She fucking hates me. I don't want to do this. And Taryn's like, trust her. Which I think is a, call to him knowing about the rebellion and the marked ones in general, and him, not really sharing that information with her. As she's on her way there, Dane, every chapter ends with Dane. Dane catches up to her and tells her that, so like yesterday, it was like a mistake, and, like there are rules, and, I can't really be involved with like a direct report, like the kiss was nice and everything. And he's just like, maybe next year or like after graduation. And Violet's like, okay, like, hold on, chill out. There's nothing between us. Like, we're good here.
pause.
Yeah, like, pause. Like, okay. And she also kind of realizes she's like, she's losing more and more interest. But then she's also just like, the only reason why you won't pursue me is because there's rules and rank. And she's just like, God, like, could you be any more of a bitch? Like,
You just dried up.
yeah, it's just like, he's just striking out left and right, coochie dry. Like, it's just like, one, you won't save me. Two, you won't be with me even on some like rank. Like, just don't care. You want to be with me? You want to be with me? Who cares? Like, because it's frowned upon. And she's just like, he's just teetering on the end. And there's a moment where Dane is like kind of shocked with her reaction of being like, oh, like, we're good. Like, there's nothing between us. And he's just like, well, like, like maybe in the future. And luckily, Imogen saves her and says that her and Violet have training sessions. And Dane is like confused, and as we all are. And so Violet's in the training room with her, and she's just like, Imogen, like, what's up? Like, why are you working with me. She was like, it's because is Zayden making you? And Imogen says she has 2 rules. He's Riorson, call him Zayden, and you do not ever get to question me about him. Ever. And that's how the chapter ends. So, shorter chapter, but I had a couple of key points to dig into. What do you think the point is of sucking up to the writers for the unbonded? Like, what do they gain out of sucking up to someone who has a dragon? Like, you're not going to get anything out of it. Like,
I was thinking about that too. I was just like, it's not like you're going to get brownie points with another dragon. I mean, unless that's their thought process. If I'm nice to this person has a dragon, maybe a dragon will see that I'm cool too and they'll pick me. Like, I don't, that's the only reason I can think of.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like in the scheme of like rank and stuff, I don't see it actually being beneficial, but like I guess there's like a fear like, oh, maybe you'll burn me when you get angry, like kind of sucking up to the biggest bullies in town. Like now you have these elite people who have these dragons that can essentially do whatever they want. So it kind of makes me think like if you get on someone's bad side, you could die like a JFB. Like he could have his dragon roast you just because he wants to and you're unbonded. So I think it may be like a bully thing, but it's hard to say. Like,
Yeah.
just be nice to everyone from the beginning and you won't have any
Treat
problem.
people the way you want to be treated.
Exactly. And then so my next point was Imogen and Zayden. What do you think is their backstory? Why is she so fiercely like, you don't call him by his first name, you respect him, and you don't ever get to question me about him or talk about him?
Because she's a marked one, and the marked ones, while they may not know all the ins and outs of the deal that was made to keep them alive, they know that Zayden was a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they have undying loyalty and respect for him.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I would agree. I think it just goes down to like what they're fighting for. Like that nothing comes over that. My mother died for that. My sister, we learned her sister and her mother died from that, and she had to watch them executed along with watching, Zayden's father. Like they've gone through a lot as children, and I imagine that creates some sort of bond. Whereas it's like, don't disrespect him and don't ask any questions. Like I don't
Trauma
tolerate that shit.
bonding. Oh, sorry.
Trauma bonding. Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then with Dane, he mentioned like, sometime in the future after graduation, maybe like, does he really want a future with Violet? Like, is he that clueless?
He don't want it that bad. I don't know.
He doesn't.
I mean, I feel like he does, but because he's such a rule stickler and a by the book person, even though I don't think that it's actually a rule that he can't fraternize that way, it's just maybe frowned upon or unwritten, so to speak. And it's probably also him feeling like if he were to do that, he would lose some of the respect that he feels that he has with his underlings or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you really love someone, you learn to work around stuff like that.
And honestly, like everyone's been seeing Dane lose it anytime Violet's around or she gets hurt or anything. Everybody saw them kiss on Threshing Day. Like pointed it out.
It's
She was
not
like,
a secret
everybody saw
anymore.
it. Like it's not a secret, bro. Like Violet got during the when they were the presentation day, her squad mate was like, aren't you fucking Dane? Like they were all accusing her of doing it anyways. So it's just like it's already out there, bro. Like stop. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was this chapter was pretty like the meat of this chapter was becoming a rider and then learning to ride and fly. And Violet is not able to keep her seat at all. And she talks about it being because of her disability that the author Rebecca Yaros also has. I wanted to see if you could give us some details. I know you did some research on the disease and like why she's not able to.
I love doing research because I'm weird. So the disorder is actually called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It is a genetic disorder that affects the collagen formation and growth and function in your body. And collagen is a super important protein in your body. It's involved in the growth and management of muscles, skin, bones, tendons, ligaments. It's very important. If you don't have enough or it doesn't act right, it can affect your internal organs. It can affect your joints, your bones, the way your muscles behave, your heart. Because while it may seem like your organs are kind of just floating around in there, there's actually connective tissue holding them in place. They're not just floating around in free space. They're like kind of like, little pockets. So, I'll be calling it EDS. So EDS disrupts this growth and can cause a lot of complications like joint dislocations, which we've seen with Violet a lot, chronic pain and fatigue in the most common classification, which is the hypermobile. And there's 6 different types. I won't list them all here, but most of them are extremely rare. However, for all 6 types, there's currently no cure. The only way you can find out if you have it is to get genetic testing. And then after that, it's just prevention and injury management, basically like preventing injuries and managing injuries and therapy, like for your mind.
Wow.
And repeated dislocation can lead to early osteoarthritis. I got all this information from the National Institutes of Health. It's important to cite your sources.
Thank you for that research. It was really helpful to help me understand. But Violet's in pain a lot and all the time. And she compartmentalizes that pain very often. In this book, we'll hear her be like putting her mental shields up or stuffing it in a box where she's kept all the pain that she deals with. So thank you for that disease, and to anyone who has EDS. We hope that seeing yourself in this book, helps with that mental and therapy strain that, seeing the representation out there and having people learn about it, because I didn't know anything about it.
I didn't know anything about it either before this book. So
yeah. So, all right, shall we move on to chapter 18?
Yes, we shall.
All right. Blurb, please.
There is nothing more sacred than the archives. Even temples can be rebuilt, but books cannot be rewritten. Colonel Daxon's Guide to Excelling in the Scribe Quadrant.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so chapter 18, we can tell we're going to be learning about scribe stuff, or at least be in the scribe quadrant. So a month has gone by, and Violet's new duty is archive duty. So she is doing her morning duty, and she just loves it. She loves the smell of the parch. She says that the archives smell like parchment, book binding, and ink, and they smell like home. The archives just represents this home space for her. And as someone who she moved around a lot, I imagine that this is her one comfort space, not her room. This space smells and feels like her father and what she loves doing, books. So she's returning a book, and she sees her friend Jacinia, and they communicate through sign language, which it took me a minute to like pick up on it when I was reading it, but I was like, oh, she's signing. I thought that was so cool. I haven't read that in a book before. I've never read anything about anyone signing in a book before. Have you?
No, but granted, I haven't read many books recently, so.
Yeah, same. So, like, I'm getting those. The whole purpose of me picking up Fourth Wing at the beginning of the year was because of this. It's for me to read more so that I can experience reading more things about people signing in a book. So Zachinia is a girl that Violet studied with last year, and she's returning some books before she heads out. And she asked Zachinia if she can look up a book for her, and it's called The Fables of the Baron. And she's just like, "It's just a book that I love, and like I used to read those fairy tales with my father. If you could check it out, I'd love to have it." But Zachinia comes back, and she tells Violet, like, I didn't find anything. And she's like, "I looked everywhere." And Violet's like, confused, because the archives is supposed to have every single written text in Navarian history, and if she had a copy of it, there should at least be one in the archives. This is like the main country's library. And Jasenia also says, like, and I also like tried to look up Wyvern, which when Violet told her about the stories, the Fables of the Baron is about Venom and Wyvern. Senia's like, I couldn't find anything. There's nothing in the library on the word Wyvern. Nothing. And so Violet's just like, this is really weird. And she tells Jasenia, like, don't worry about it. Like, it's fine. So we'll touch on the lies or like the realization soon. But she starts to head to lunch, and her squad has been merged with another squad, except these squad members refuse to sit with anyone who has a rebellion relic. And we just kind of see that kind of prejudice going on already. But exciting news is that Sawyer has manifested a signet. Yay!
So proud of my kids.
I know. He is a metallurgist. I think. He can move metal, like Magneto. He's Magneto. So everyone is super excited for Sawyer because that's like what they're waiting for. They're waiting for their powers to come through from their dragons. And Quen's like, yeah, like that's great. Like it's great that you manifest your signet soon. And everybody's like, what do you mean? What do you mean soon? Like she's like, well, you kind of have to. It's just like, why do I have to? And she's like, oh, well, if you don't manifest the signet at a certain time, you'll just burn out.
You'll just explode.
Just explode from the power. It's like, wait, what? Like another way to die?
Oh, no one told us this.
Like more ways to die? Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
So Violet heads to the flight field, and her and Taryn are bickering about her not being able to keep her seat. And then suddenly Dane. It feels like it's always Dane somewhere in these chapters. He's just fucking going down. He immediately berates her and tells her, like, why hasn't she told him that he's not able to keep her seat? And Violet's like, well, it's not like uncommon knowledge. I'm out on the flight field. You're my squad leader. Pay the fuck attention. And he's just like, well, I'm your best friend, and like that's important. Like you need to keep your seat. And she's just like, I know I need to keep my seat. I'm very aware that I need to keep my seat. And she's starting to really, really, really get pissed off. And so then he says to, he's like, Dane's like, well, let me help you. And Violet is just over it at this point. And she's like, Imogen is helping me with my joints and helps me with those weights. And Dane's like, well, I thought that because you bonded Taryn that you were going to be fine. Like, and she's just like, I thought I could relax, essentially thinking about himself again.
Thinking about himself again.
Thought I could relax and be okay. And I'm terrified you won't make it to graduation. And Violet fucking snaps. And she says, you are so worried about my flaws that you're not even like paying attention to the fact that I can do more. You can't even believe it. You won't even try. And she tells him that it's the only reason why they will never be more than friends is because he has no faith in her.
Mm-hmm.
She just storms off. She's fucking pissed. And I don't blame her. I would be so agitated if somebody came to me to have a conversation about something I already fucking know. I know that I need to stay on my fucking dragon, dipshit. Like, you're not teaching me anything new. So then she's heading out to the courtyard. She's fucking pissed. And somebody starts screaming out of nowhere. And in this death college, like, somebody screaming, I'm sure it's not anything positive. It's Jeremiah, and his signet is manifesting, and he can read minds. He literally starts saying everything what's on their mind. He's asking everyone to make it stop, and he starts saying what's on Dane's mind, which is, does Violet truly believe that I don't care about her? And then he moves on to Garrick, and Garrick is like, fuck, he's gonna know about. And just as he says that, Xaden wraps shadows around his mouth to mute him, and Professor Carr comes out and immediately snaps his neck, and the kid is dead. And Violet's like, damn. And he, the kid who died, Jeremiah, not only can you die from just getting a dragon or falling off of a dragon, if your signet just happens to manifest where you can read minds, also dying. It is a capital offense to be a mind reader because of just secrets. And so they've just decided as a nation, anybody who's a mind reader, you're dead.
Which makes sense when we figure out what's really going on, why they wouldn't want people reading minds.
Yeah, they don't want mind readers for a specific reason. So Violet is back in her room and she's sleeping. She's dreaming about her father and him teaching her about reading the truth behind the words. And she snaps out of this dream from Taryn telling her to wake the fuck up or you're going to die. And she notes that people are in her room just as a knife is coming down on her backside. Thank God for her armor that Mira gave her because the sword does not penetrate her. And there are 4 unbonded men and 3 unbonded women in her room. And one of them bolts out and she knows who it is. But she doesn't have time to do anything because she starts fighting them. And Oren is there. He starts to choke her. Taryn can't get there fast enough. He tells her that he's almost there. And in her final thoughts, as Oren is choking her and she realizes that Taryn's not going to be there, is will she ever be strong enough to graduate? Will she ever be worthy of Taryn and Andarna? And will she finally make her mother proud? And just as she's having her thoughts, Andarna screams, "Mine," and everything freezes. And her door slams open. So those 3 things. The door slams open, Andarna screams, "Mine," and everyone in the room freezes. And that is the end of chapter 18.
That was,
I know.
I remember reading that. That was intense.
Yeah, it was very, 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 very intense. So not too much I'm gonna dig into here, but the unbonded are really freaking desperate. Like
Very. And then, like I
7
mentioned
people.
before, like, why are you being so desperate? What are you trying to achieve? Dragon don't want you.
Exactly. 7 of them in the room to murder 1 girl. Like they think the odds of like they're gonna split the dragon in 7. Like what the hell are they thinking?
Paper, rock, scissors.
Right? Like only one of you gets them. Like what are you doing? Like it's so weird. And this is the first time that we get to notice Andarna's powers, and really, really, really excited about that, and like just happy we get to see what she brings to the table. And lastly, Dane. Oh God, this chapter is just he just keeps fucking up every chapter. It's just like, oh my God, dude, like please, how are you gonna argue with someone about what they need to do and why they didn't tell you, and then be like, "I'm so worried about you. Please get out of my face."
Yeah, please go the fuck away. Just
Right? But okay, I think we can move on to chapter 19.
good, because I'm ready.
Yay.
In response to the Great War, dragons claimed the western lands and Gryphons the central ones, abandoning the barons and the memory of General Daramor, who nearly destroyed the continent with his army. Our allies sailed home, and we began a period of peace and prosperity as the provinces of Navarre united for the first time behind the safety of our wards under the protection of the first bonded riders. Navarre, an unedited history by Colonel Lewis Markham.
Very interesting.
Is it Navarre or Navarre? Am I saying it wrong? It's Navarre, isn't it?
I say Navarre, but it could be Navarre. She needs to put like a glossary in the back of her books and book
She
screens.
really does.
So that we know how to pronounce things. So chapter 19, again, time is frozen. Her door slams open and Oren has his knife to her throat. And Donna tells her she can't hold it long. She moves out. Violet moves in. As soon as she gets out and she's safe, time resumes. Zayden's eyes immediately snap from where Oren was to where she is, and he's like, "What the fuck?" But he moves in and just says they're all fucking dead, and he literally kills them with
John
his
Wick
shadows.
style.
Yeah, just like annihilated them all in seconds, strangled them with his shadows. But he leaves Oren. Oren's like begging for his life, and Zayden's like, she should have killed you when you attacked her on threshing, but I'm not her, so I have no mercy. And he cuts his throat, and he's dead. So Garrick and Bodhi run in and they're like, damn, dude, like you weren't gonna save anybody for questioning? And and Zayden's like, no, clean this up. And Bodhi's like, oh, I guess we're on cleanup duty. And he's like, yeah, go get somebody if you need help. So they start moving all of the bodies out of Violet's room. This college is insane. Zayden heads over to Violet to see if she's okay. And she's like, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. And Zayden says, yes, you are. And she's just like, oh, I didn't realize I said that out loud. She thought that she was saying it in her head. So this is two things: a moment where Zayden is picking up on their bond. Remember, like he's able to talk in her mind. So if you remember from the POV chapter, he sees her that day on threshing as in one of his doors. He sees Scale, he sees Taryn, and he sees a little bit of silver like door in his mind. So he's already has access to Violet at this point. So it could be his powers of his second signet, or it could be just their mental connection growing where he can.
I think
hear
it's their
her
mental
thoughts.
connection growing. Because remember, with his second signet, he can only read intentions, so he can't outright read minds.
Yeah, exactly. So if she said in her head, he probably heard it because her shields are completely down and they have a connection. She obviously had been skilled enough to learn how to put her shield doors up or anything. So Zayden checks to see if she is hurt, and there's a lot of tension in this scene as he, takes his corset off and checks her ribs, and the tenderness there. There's definitely a little attraction, and Taryn tells her to trust him because she is like, I don't feel comfortable with somebody who's like about to kill me. One of the things is when Zayden sees the bruises on her neck, he immediately says like, I should have killed him slower. And Violet says, I'm fine. And he immediately says, never lie to me. And I thought that was interesting given what we go through in book 2.
Girl. Well, I wouldn't really call them lies. I would just call them withholds.
Withholding. But as you can see, that's very serious to Zayden. Don't lie to him. 1, because he will know. And 2, like, don't fucking lie to me. So Zayden starts helping her into her shoes and her coat, and they head out. He takes her to a secret tunnel, and she starts talking to Taryn, letting him know that Zayden's taking her. He's like, I know. And as they get out of this little secret area, and Darna and Scale are also at the meeting. And Darna's worried about her, and she's like, I'm okay. And Zayden's not fucking with the shits. He immediately walks up to Taryn and like, what kind of fucking powers are you channeling to her? And he's like, I don't know what happened in there. And Terrence is like, well, it looked like you got 30 seconds to me, so I don't know why you over here charging me up. And Zayden's like, yeah, and I'd like to know how I got those 30 seconds. And they're arguing back and forth. Scale joins in the conversation and says, please don't scorch or light Zayden on fire. And Violet's like, I can hear you. I can hear Scale. And she learns that they're all linked, which is what we just talked about. They're all linked together. They can all talk through each other's mind, which is really helpful in battle. If you're fighting with someone, a true companion, you don't have to scream at each other over or just hope that you know what you're talking about, or the dragons communicate. You can actually communicate. So that's really cool. But the meat of this section is, where did this power come from? And that's really what Zayden wants to know. And Darna actually comes and starts telling them, because he's looking to Taryn and Scale and they don't have the answers. And Darna says that all dragons are born with something special, and she is a feathertail. And because she's a feathertail, she can give her born gift directly to Violet. It's not a signet, but it's a power. It's her own power that she can manifest through the rider that she chose. And she notes that she'll be a feathertail for a couple of years. And they learn that feathertails are essentially like younglings. If they can give their gifts directly, but if they do it too much, then they'll burn out and die, or their rider can burn them out and die. So that's why it's very serious. This is not widely known. No one knows about it. Like, no one knows anything about feathertails. Scale notes that Violet and Zayden cannot say anything about this because leadership will hunt them down for this power to be able to stop time. Are you fucking kidding me? They're going to
Yeah.
go look for all the feather tails so they can get power and suck the dragons dry. They don't trust humans, and for good reason.
Yeah, for good reason.
So Violet confirms, like, yes, I can stop time, and I can stop time only in little increments. And if Violet uses too much, she can kill her and thus kill all of them. And Violet says that she would never do that, and she will. And Violet and Darna believes her. And so Zayden says that, you know, we cannot say anything, and we will never say anything for all our sakes. He's like, this is a power that you keep to yourself. He's teaching her, like, there are things. He's teaching her about secrets. This is his first, like, you keep a secret. It protects you. He starts even noting, like, having this second thing is something you should keep to yourself. Hint number 1 on Zayden having a second signet, because he's really saying from his own experience, like, I know, keep this, you know, to yourself. That is the end of the chapter. But before then, he says, you know, we got to figure out how those people got in your room. And Violet's like, oh, I know how. And he's just like, okay, who? And she's just like, I don't like want to tell you. And she hesitates for 2 reasons. One, because it's Zayden and she's still like trying to get over this, like, oh, you're not trying to kill me now point. But 2, she doesn't think that he'll believe her. A lot of that because of Dane. And Zayden tells her to trust him. So she tells him. That's the end of the chapter. We don't know who it is until the next chapter. My question, one of my key points I want to talk about is, should Zayden have killed them all in the room? Was that smart?
Yes, kill them all.
In
They
a
knew what they were
college
getting
like
into.
this is true. In a college like this, I kind of feel like, yeah, it's either it's kill or be killed. But it
They made poor
probably
life
would have,
choices.
yeah, it probably would have been advisable to you know, have leadership decide what to do, or like be in on the decision, or just, you know, but he doesn't give a fuck about leadership, so, you
He
know.
really doesn't. He is leadership.
He is leadership, exactly. My next point is, do you think the Venom know about feathertail dragons and that they can channel their power directly? Like, do you think that's why they want to get to the hatching ground so badly?
You know what? I never thought about that. But you might be onto something.
Just thinking about it, I was just like, this is a huge power for the
It's an
feathertails to be able to
incredible power.
Mm-hmm. Stop time? Come on. And that's just one gift.
There's just one gift. Like, imagine what the other
Mhm.
gifts are.
Exactly. And, you know, the Venom are in search of constant power. So I'd be curious to know, like, if they just want to take over the hatching grounds just to be able to pull that source of magic, or do they know that they can get these dragons, they can have all kinds of gifts.
Yeah.
Drain dragons.
I don't know why that sounded funny.
Draining dragons.
Draining dragons.
All right, so let's move on to the last chapter, chapter 20.
Accusing a wing leader of wrongdoing is the most dangerous of all accusations. If you're right, then we failed as a quadrant to select the best wing leaders. If you're wrong, you're dead. My Time as a Cadet, a memoir by General Augustine Melgren.
General Melgren.
General Melgren.
The death roll starts the next morning, and Violet is just reeling. She's just thinking about everything that happened. Not only that she almost died last night, choked to death, stabbed, had to fight for her life, but also the information that she learned about Andarna, about Feathertails, about being able to stop time, what this means, keeping it a secret. She's just shocked. Ree is absolutely just cannot believe that she was almost killed last night. And Violet's like, I'm not. Like, you see how quickly these people turn on me. Like, I'm not surprised. So Zayden strolls up. He calls Dane and he says that Liam will be joining their squad. And Violet's like, what? And he's making this random change, and Violet starts to put it together, and she realizes that Liam is a marked one. He's the strongest. He's like, seems to be very close to Zayden. That he is going to be essentially Violet's bodyguard moving forward. And Violet is pissed. She's like, I don't need a bodyguard. And he's ignoring her. And she keeps saying it. And he's just like, well, I can't be everywhere you are, but Liam's going to be. He's going to be in all your classes. He's going to be at your duty. He's going to be at your breakfast. He's going to be everywhere. He's even going to be next door to your room every single night. And Violet is just pissed. She just can't believe that he has done this. And Jaden's like, I don't care. You need to stay alive so that I can stay alive. And that's my number one order of business at the end of the day is my life. So he walks away from her and heads up to the dais, and General Panchek is there. And he starts speaking, and it's weird that he's even here. And Dane tells him to shush because he's the annoying teacher that doesn't allow people to whisper. And he finally notices Violet's neck. After all that back and forth between him and Xaden, he has tunnel vision for Xaden. I think he's fucking hard on for him. He doesn't notice that Violet, when she's speaking to him, has these fucking bruises on her neck until this moment. I'm like, bro, where the hell have you been?
Yeah.
And he can't stop staring at her. He's just like, what happened? And she's like, Dane, turn around. Like, stop. Like, people are staring. And he's like, is that what Riorsan meant by last night? He's so jealous. He can only think like, oh, last night they were hanging out last night. Can you look at her? Can you just fucking look at her for 5 seconds?
They was fucking.
Like, he's just like, last night? Like, what do he didn't even look at her. And I just, oh gosh. So Panchek says that there has been a violation of the codex, and Xaden walks up to the front of everyone, and Violet realizes, oh fuck, this is about me. This is about the attack last night. And Xaden calls it out and says, there was a cadet that was attacked in the middle of the night, and we do not attack our cadets when they're sleeping. And he says that the person that had access to her room was Wing Leader Amber Mavis, which, if you remember correctly, was Dane's ex-girl, the girl that was charging her up about the gauntlet a few chapters ago. And of course, yeah, the hateration in this dancery, Amber Mavis. As soon as Xaden says Amber, Dane immediately rounds on Violet and says, stop. This isn't true. What are you saying? And Violet, calmer than I would have been, said, no, it was her. But also her heart like stutters in this moment because she knew that he wouldn't believe her. And she knew, and then he just proved her right. And she's just like, God, like, you are ripping me apart at this point. Every single moment I'm speaking to you, you just keep killing me.
Yep.
And
proving her points.
Exactly. Every time. And Dane says that like he like, you need to say something, stop this, tell Riorsan this is a lie. And she's like, it's not. And he keeps arguing with her. So he says, well, let me see. And he just immediately reaches for her head so that he can pull the memories from her. And she jerks back. Like, you're demanding that I show my memories to you? And she's like, don't you fucking touch me. Don't you ever fucking touch me like that. And in the same breath, all of the dragons arrive. And Amber, while she's being accused of this, stands out and accuses Xaden of trying to get revenge because her family didn't join in on his father's rebellion, which is a low blow. Yeah, it's a low blow. It's bullshit. Doesn't bother Xaden because I'm sure he's heard this before. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's my dad. Yeah, the rebellion. Yep. I'm the bad guy. And so, but when she says this, it gets a reaction out of people because it reminds people that Xaden is the son of the great betrayer. And it creates and casts some sort of doubt and sympathy in this moment. Because
she knew what she was doing.
Yeah, she knew exactly what she was doing and pointing out exactly who he is. And Violet notes this and she begs Taryn to share the memory with everyone. And she's like, Xaden is like fighting for me and he's trying up there, like, help him. And Taryn's just like, I would prefer not to, but I will. And he shares the image with everyone's dragon. And suddenly everyone's having that vision sent to them. And
the gasping.
Yes, big old gas, and Amber is just like, she's saying she did it to protect her wing, and that she did it for the good of the quadrant and the riders, and she's weak and this, that, and the other, and she's found guilty, and she is sentenced to death by fire. And so Taryn gets ready to stalk forward to burn her, and she sees Amber's dragon, trying to snap at Taryn, who he quickly shuts that down. But Violet has a moment and she's like, wait, no, she feels bad for Clyda, the dragon. She's just like, no, like, just let her live. Like, we can work it out. Like, we can have a conversation. Like, hold on. Like, I don't want someone to die because of me. And Terrence just like,
This is
this
our
is
way.
the way that we do things. And everyone steps aside out of the way, and he burns her to dust. And Clyda screams so loudly, Amber's dragon, that the windows break as she mourns the death of her rider. And that is the end of chapter 20. Woo! So
I feel like Violet's so naive. I just had to get that out.
No. She's not a writer. She is a writer, but she's not.
She has the mind of a scribe.
Yeah. And she's just so not in tune with the realities of like where she is sometimes and the way things are.
She's a sweet summer child, as they would say.
She's a sweet summer child. She's a sweet summer child. So a couple of things I want to touch about. Liam, which is one of my faves. I'm so excited to get into these next couple chapters about Liam. But bigger question, is Xaden overstepping?
Yes and no. I mean, I understand his reasoning for it because clearly these people are ruthless and they're willing to break the codex to try and kill her. So they can't even rely on the rules to keep her alive. And like he said, he can't be everywhere at once. And so the best thing to do is to assign a classmate that he trusts, that's big and strong, that can protect her when he's not able to be there. She may not like it, but it's the reality of the situation, because if she dies, all four of them die.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my initial thought is like, yes, like, dude, at least talk to me. And I think that's probably more of the thing, like, have a conversation with me about what you want to do instead of just doing it and doing what you want to do. And I think that's really where he oversteps. And on the other hand, to your point, like, it's his life too. So like, I can't really take any chances, and people are breaking into your room, and I can't even trust my own fucking wing leader. I can't trust my wing leader to not break into your room and try and kill you. So no, Jurassic times call for Jurassic measures.
But would she have agreed if they would have had a conversation? Most likely not.
No.
So he just...
But at least he could have talked to her and told her. I don't know. But yes, Violet's annoying. She would have been like, no, I'm strong. I would have been like, give me 2 bodyguards, because I'm not waking up in my sleep again. I'm not doing it. No, you got another one of them bodyguards? Assign them to me. These people are crazy. They're trying to kill me. No. So, and then Dane has been like the central fucking guy for every single one of these. And I know I'm tired of talking about him, but like demanding to see her memories.
Yeah,
bro, like, come on.
That was a lot. I was just like, you're digging.
I mean, he's not just digging, he's drilling. He is in the ground. Like, he's doing his best to get 6 feet under. Like, what are you doing? And it's just him and his rules and all this in every chapter, him not believing in her, him kissing her and then backtracking and then, accusing her of like, why can't you keep your seat? And what are you doing? And I'm so worried about you. And then it's just like, you better tell him that you're lying. Like, do you ever believe her? Do you even see her?
He it's like he doesn't see her as a person almost. He just sees her as like glass.
Literally, like a doll. Like, oh my God. Like, shut up. I literally, at this point, I honestly, the Dane hate is strong for me, and these chapters are not helping.
No, they're not. I still want to get that bookmark I saw on Etsy that said Dane is a bitch. That only qualifies for the first book. So
big bitch energy. I wanted to touch on Xaden and his feelings for Violet at this point. Like, do you think these drastic measures came from him starting to care about her,
Oh
or
yeah, for
is it?
sure. For that's what
Yeah.
we read about his POV chapters all the way back at
Mm-hmm.
Threshing. Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just only
Yeah.
getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah. I would agree too. Like, I think like it's peak at this time, like the tension between them in that room, and then even this chapter, the tension, like she gets under his skin, and
Mm-hmm.
he knows how to get under hers.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's wrap up with our wrap up questions. So, Sister, your character of the week, please.
Taryn.
Oh, why?
I just love the banter.
Yeah.
He's like the cool uncle or something. He's
Yeah.
always like, he's laid back, he's chill, but he's like, I'm not a killer, but don't push me.
Yes, no, seriously. Yes, I love Taryn. I always think of him as a Slytherin. I just think he's like my favorite
That little
Slytherin. Love
Slytherin.
him. My character of the week would be Andarna. I just really love that we got to see some of her personality this chapter. We see her bond with Violet. We learn more about Feathertails, like her helping Violet her powers. And I really love Andarna. She's just super sweet, and she just brings like care and light and love.
She
And
does. She's like a ball
I
of
love
light.
it. Yeah, a ball of light and energy in this book, and just like love, and she feels that warmth anytime she speaks to Andarna. So I really love that. All right. So what is your line of the week?
Dragons pay no heed to your puny gods by Taryn.
So funny. I love that.
I love that line because it reminds us of not just the regalness of the dragons, but also where they see themselves in like the food chain, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Puny gods.
Like
dang.
we don't need gods. We're above that.
Yeah, it's so cool and so Taryn.
Mm-hmm.
My line of the week is I Should Have Killed Him Slower by Xaden. I'm just a romantic, and I think like I think I literally like highlighted this line in my book and put like little hearts around it, because it's like I just like little like cute little moments.
You should
like
have. No.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you should have killed him slower. All right, and what is your moment of the week?
Dane being a bitch ass nigga.
Oh God.
Nigga used loosely.
Jesusly, yes.
But like, yeah, I just the eye rolling. They would have got stuck at the top of my head.
It's bad. These chapters were rough reading about Dane. I mean, he was just striking out every chapter. So yeah, but it was a downfall, and we saw the downfall. So we should have said Dane's downfall.
Took himself out there. Dane's downfall.
And then my moment of week coincides with my line of the week, which is just Xaden saving Violet, like him storming into the room. And I think the book like really describes like him standing there, like with the wrath of Dune, the death goddess, like with the shadows around him, the doors exploding, and I just see this rage billowing off of him. And he's almost there. Like, it's just like a very like, if I go back and read chapters, this is one of the chapters I reread, because it's just really intense, and it's just a really fun scene. All right, next week we will cover chapters 21 and 25 of Fourth Wing. So be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
Thank you for joining us this week as we dive into the fantasy realm of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I'm Geneva.
And I'm Aaliyah. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.